Hi everyone. How many of you know the startup story of Android operating system installed in your Android phone? How many of you know that you are using Linux right now? Do you know a thing? 75% of mobile phones are powered by Linux. 95% of supercomputers are running using Linux based operating systems. Why the world talking so much about Linux? Why the internet talking so much about Linux? How Linux is get started? Come, let's find answers for all these questions in this video. The story of Linux begins 29 years ago. That means in 1991. In that period, cell phones were really big. It was August of 1991 and a 20-year-old computer science student named Linus Torvalds sat down at his computer in Helsinki to post what is now one of the most famous entries in computing history. Hello everybody out there, I am doing a free operating system. Just a hobby, won't be anything big and professional like GNU. It probably will never support anything other than 80 hard disks, as that is all I have. That word of Linux open source project quickly spread around the globe and developers from all over contributed their code. Linus named his OS kernel Linux and chose a penguin as its mascot after a little incident at the zoo. He soon made a very important decision that would shape Linux at future just as much as the technology. He chose the GPL license created by a visionary named Richard Stallman. The Linux kernel along with the GPL license and other new components revolutionized the computing industry with a few very simple yet very important freedoms. The freedom to use the software for any purpose. The freedom to change the software to suit your needs. The freedom to share the software with your friends and neighbors. The freedom to share the changes you make. These radical ideas fueled its spread around the world, and somewhat paradoxically it was raised from a hobbyist experiment to a foundation of a large and thriving commercial ecosystem. Companies built businesses around Linux. In 1999, Red Hat stock crippled as it became the first Linux company to go public. That same year, IBM spent $1 billion to improve and advertise Linux.
Does he have a name? His name is Linux.
Soon Linux was knocking out industry heavyweights and fueling the rise of the internet with its free software. In short, Linux revolutionized computing. But whenever something is disruptive, there is bound to be competitive crossfire. But Linux not only survived, it thrived. Today, the kernel development community numbers in the thousands with hundreds of companies collaborating on Linux development. Every 3 months, another version of Linux is released. So, where is Linux today? Running in 75% of stock exchanges worldwide and powering the servers that deliver Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, eBay, and Google. You use Linux literally every time you surf the internet. It's in your phone, in your TV, running 95% of supercomputers, and in many of the devices you use every day. Linux is everywhere. And the Helsinki based programmer who started it all, he orchestrates this worldwide army of developers from his home office in Portland, Oregon as a fellow at the Linux Foundation. By next year, Linux is entering to the third decade of its revolutionary long path in technology. Linux is everywhere. And I like to share a wonderful saying that I remember. This saying was told by Sir Vinod Sandil, the Chief Technical Officer of Infosec. The best part of one's life is doing what people say you cannot do. So always remember, the best part of one's life is doing what people say you cannot do. I'm Aksd and I want to wish you all the very best.